There is a point in every person's life where they get to complete a dream of theirs. That is today for me. In this box is half of my dream that I've had since I was 14 years old. Let's unbox this thing after the intro. Hey there, YouTubers! Now, obviously, you already know, or have a good idea of what's inside here, A, if you read the description, and B, if you, well, whatever the thumbnail is, not to mention the title is My Dream Sucks. Alrighty, Future Doc here. I was tired of listening to past me drone on through a bunch of ums and uhs and cuts, and it was annoying, alright? We were like 3.5 minutes into the video, and all we had done was open a box, alright? So now here we are, a minute into the video, and we have still only opened a box. I bought a vacuum chamber and a vacuum pump. I bought them in a weird order. I bought the pump, there was a big elapse in time, then I bought the chamber. I think it had something to do with money. I don't really remember. This was months and months and months and months ago. So yeah, that's what I bought. Congratulations. It was my dream since I was 14 years old to have a vacuum chamber and vacuum pump so I could do fun things. And so here we are, going to hopefully do fun things. Alright, you're going to hear a lot from Future Doc just because, well, I don't really know how to make a video like this. I did this unboxing. I got tired of doing the unboxing. And so now we're throwing things at a vacuum chamber. Some of these experiments have fun things happen in them. Like this glove in a tube. This is the first experiment I ever did, testing out the pump. And, well, it pops. Great. It popped. Great. And now we move on to the next experiment. So this next experiment is one of those plastic packing bags that's filled with air, or sealed air, as you can read on the side of it. This one isn't exactly interesting as to what happens once it's in the chamber. It's more interesting of what happens afterwards. So it never pops, but after I reintroduce pressure back into the chamber, the bag is completely flat. I think these things are sealed with either just regular air or probably argon. They're probably just filled with air, to be honest. Anyways, bit of an interesting result. I had other experiments I threw in the chamber that didn't do anything, like ketchup packets, so that's why this one's in here. So now we're doing a classic, a marshmallow and a vacuum chamber. I don't know if it's really a classic. I don't know how many people have access to vacuum chambers and vacuum pumps and then put marshmallows in there and pull the air out. I just know it's popular on the internet. Anyways, so marshmallows are filled with air. That's what keeps them so puffy. So when you put them in the vacuum chamber, you pull that air out, the air expands. That's why it gets bigger than it once was. And then when we let the air back in, the marshmallow gets smashed back down by air pressure, and you're left with a shell of its former self. Kind of like people after a divorce.
To a realization. After watching the train wreck that was the Eternals, I realized Avengers Age of Ultron isn't that bad by comparison.
Alright, so this is one of my favorite experiments you could possibly do in a vacuum chamber. It's not exactly visually interesting, but it's audioly interesting. Auditorially? How would you say that? It doesn't matter. Point is, I put a Bluetooth speaker in the vacuum chamber and then turned the vacuum pump on. What's interesting here is it slowly gets quieter. Interjection here.
By comparison, look a little bit
Now, once I get the full vacuum, I cut the pump because the pump is very loud, and I don't know if you can really hear interjection here. It's so quiet. It's pretty much the best vacuum I can pull. Let's let some air back in. And then I let the air back in, and what's interesting is it takes the speaker a minute to, like, get air back in itself. It must be relatively well sealed, and so you end up where it's going quiet, 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 and then boom, it's loud again.
once the dust settles, the planet will unthaw, which would cause the dead corpses left in all the cities to decompose and release methane.
One last comment on this speaker. The reason why you would be able to hear it at all once it's at a full vacuum is because the speaker, it has a membrane that's moving up and down. And that's going to transfer vibrations into the metal pot, which will then vibrate and move the air molecules on the outside, and that will create sound. When it's in the vacuum, it can't create sound because sound permeates through air or through a medium. It's not like light that can go through a vacuum. If there's nothing around your theme making sound, there is no sound. Air permeates sound. Hopefully that explains things. Oh boy, something relatively actually visually interesting. So I'm going to boil water at room temperature. Yes, you heard it here first. Okay, it's not a new idea. So basically, water at lower pressures has a lower boiling point, and this is due to vapor pressure. So as the pressure in the atmosphere increases, the amount of energy needed to boil water also increases, and it works the same way going backwards. The less energy needed to boil water. So water at room temperature in a vacuum, and you actually have to pull a very good vacuum. I had it took it all the way to where my gauge was about to max out the best vacuum I can pull with this pump before the water started to boil. That's kind of crazy in my opinion. But anyways, this is actually a problem for climbers in the Himalayas because it takes longer to cook like a potato. If you took a potato with you and you wanted to boil a potato, it's going to take forever because the water is going to boil a lot easier than it would at sea level. They also have to take this into account when giving cooking instructions because, somebody cooking a cake at sea level, doesn't need as much energy as somebody cooking it in the Rocky Mountains. In the next clip, I do oil. Oil, at least vegetable oil anyways, follows the same logic. And actually, the reason why I boiled oil in the first place is because of the next experiment where Phil wanted to see if we could use it to clean my cheese blocks. Yeah. Let's explain that after this. So, last year around this time, I did a video on the Cheese Touch from Diet of a Wimpy Kid. Basically, I took several slices of cheese, left them on some cinder blocks on my deck, and I still have those slices there to this day. And it's been almost a year, if not a year. Anyways, we wanted to see what would happen. And we discovered that the cheese's oil seeped into these concrete cinder blocks. And Phil was like, how do we remove that? And I'm like, I don't know. Just destroy the cinder blocks, maybe? I'm not sure. Well, he came up with an idea that if we put the cinder blocks in a vacuum chamber, that the oil, once we pull a vacuum, would start to vaporize, as you saw in the previous clip when we were boiling it, and this would slowly remove it from the brick. I left this brick in this chamber for an hour. I went, shopped around, I think I went to Walmart, did some stuff, came back, and, well, it looked like this still. Yeah, not really a change. The only change is maybe the lighting because, well, it was darker at this point. Yeah, there was no change. It didn't work. I mean, maybe it did. Maybe we removed several molecules of oil, but one of the problems I think we're going to have was as the oil evaporates, we need a really good vacuum. So as the oil evaporates, it's going to then increase the pressure in the chamber again, thus preventing the oil from evaporating. So I would need to run the pump constantly, and that's not exactly good for the pump. So I wasn't down to do that. But again, that was going to take forever. So if you have another idea of how to remove oil from a cinder block, let me know. I don't really need to know, but why not, right? Alright, so for this next experiment, I put a suction cup in a vacuum chamber. So here's how a suction cup works. When you press it against a smooth surface, it expels the air between it and the smooth surface, leaving a small vacuum. This is enough for air pressure to then hold it against the smooth surface so it doesn't fall. So when you put it in a vacuum chamber and pull all the air out of the chamber, leaving just a vacuum, the pressure should equalize between the suction cup against the glass and the outside environment. And it should just pop off. And it did do that in my video. hung on there a lot longer than I was expecting. And I think I was just walking around the chamber and that jiggled it and it fell off. I turned off the pump. I just stared at it like, why is it not falling off? What is going on? It did not defy the laws of physics, but it did defy expectations. This last experiment is courtesy of Phil. So Phil hypothesized that when you put a thermometer in a vacuum chamber and pull all the air out, the thermometer should read no temperature. So I did it. So I put it into the chamber, and it went down about 1 degree. I even left it in there for an extended period of time, and it only ever read 1 degree lower than when I started. And then I thought about it for a little bit. I talked to Outback, who's an engineer, and we both came to the same conclusion that the thermometer is not measuring the air directly. It's measuring a piece of copper that is measuring the air. That copper is still going to stay warm. I mean, because it's still in contact with the rest of the thermometer, so it's going to stay warm. Phil still denies this, and he's saying that the thermometer was broken and flawed, it doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. It was a big argument, and he still says that I did it wrong. I wanted to put a mercury thermometer in there, or an alcohol-based one, but I guess I forgot to order one, because I forgot I was going to do that at all. And so I'm just stuck with this. So, guys, in the comments, explain to Phil why he's wrong. Maybe one of you will be able to explain to him that, hey, even if I pull all the air out of the vacuum chamber, that thermometer is still going to read temperature because, well, you have all the radiant energy coming through the vacuum chamber from the surrounding air and coming in contact with the thermometer. But anyways, I would like to thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. New videos once a month or whenever I feel like it. 1 or noon Central Time. And good night.
Subs for trees. Subs for trees. Subs for trees. Subs for trees. Oh, you're still here? I thought I told you to go home. Oh, you want more? I'm flattered. Check out the playlist. If you want exclusive content, check out my Instagram, Dr_Sheep_YouTube. That's all lowercase. If you want to help the earth, subscribe. When I reach 100 subscribers, I'm going to plant 10 trees. If you feel that's too small, then check out my channel chart where I lay out even bigger goals. Finally, stick around for the next 20 seconds to give me that sweet watch time. Bye.